going on, class? Today we're going to be talking about flash loans in decentralized finance. That's what DeFi stands for, if you're curious, what they are and how they work. Let's jump into a deep dive into decentralized finance's most atomic primitive. So, defining the flash loan primitive, the power of atomic transactions. Some key characteristics. So it's based off of atomic execution. The entire process, borrow, use, repay, must happen in one single non-divisible blockchain. Transaction block. If any step fails, the entire transaction is reverted as if it never happened. It's also going to have a zero collateral requirement. And unlike traditional or most decentralized finance loans, no upfront collateral is required, making them accessible to anyone with sufficient gas. And gas is going to stand for fees within the crypto world, if you ever see the term gas. To execute the smart contract. The smart contract is going to be an autonomous contract in which the crypto system works off of. So instead of having middlemen like the bank systems confirming whether or not transactions can approve or decline transactions, the cryptocurrency system runs off of autonomous contracts that work automatically, calculate transactions, and confirm them on the blockchain as well too. An instantaneous repayment. The loan tenor is less than 15 seconds. The time it takes for a block to be mined on Ethereum. Okay, so it's going to take 15 seconds to mine a block of Ethereum. And the borrowed funds must be returned within the same block. And citing the source, flash loans were popularized by protocols like AV, formerly ETHLend, and DIDEX, and the mechanism relies entirely on the deterministic nature on Ethereum's virtual machine, okay, also known as EVM, and transaction automacy. And the mechanics, how a smart contract manages payment and repayment. So the borrow, execute, repay sequence. So the code execution is handled by a sophisticated smart contract deployed by the user. So this is going to be the back end of how certain cryptocurrency structures are going to be ran. This is going to be the code and calculations behind everything, which is called the flash loan pool contract. So the 3 stages within one block. So this is going to be for the borrowing call. The user's contract call is the lending pool, okay, requesting X amount of dollars in assets, okay, for example, DAI, for example. And then the execution phase to get an example, okay. And the lending pool transfers the dollar amount to the user's contract and simultaneously calls the user's contract defined function, okay. For example, execute operation, parentheses, okay. And this is where the user's logic runs, okay. For example, arbitrage swap, okay. And repayment check. Once the user's logic completes, the lending pool is checked its balance and it must have received the original dollar amount plus a small fee, okay, typically a 0.9% back, okay. And the reversion guardrail. If the repayment check in stage 3 fails, aka an insufficient funds return, for example, the entire transaction, including stage 1, 2, and 3, is going to be reverted by the EVM, the Ethereum virtual machine, and the state of the blockchain remains unchanged. And the automaticity is the security feature that prevents lender loss. So a primary use case, decentralized arbitrage and capitalizing on price inefficiencies across DEXs, okay. So DEXs is going to stand for decentralized exchanges, if you're curious what DEXs stand for. So arbitrage is commonly and one of the most intendedly used things within the decentralized exchange space. And flash loans provide the instantaneous, enormous capital required to exploit tiny temporary price differences across decentralized exchanges. So here's an example of some arbitrage for a single transaction. So let's say you borrow 10 million, okay, in USDC. Okay, USDC is going to be a stable coin based off the fiat currency in the US, okay? And the US uses the US dollar. So that's where USDC is going to be based off of from, okay? And the stable coin's purpose is pretty much to be like the fiat currency's version of cryptocurrency's reserve, okay? So yeah, cryptocurrency is pretty much just trying to make its own stable dollar that doesn't change and fluctuate too much, unlike other cryptocurrencies. So, for example, let's say the pair USDC / Ethereum, okay, is 3K on Uniswap, okay? So that's DEX A. Then I'm going to go ahead and say USDC is $3,005 on SushiSwap. All right, so that's going to be $5 more. Okay, and we're here to invest, so we're here to make money. So we want to be getting the cheapest prices possible, inshallah. So let's say that's DEX B. So execution 1. So you can use 10 million USDC to buy Ethereum on Uniswap. Okay, that's going to be DEX A for $3,000. And then execution 2, you can immediately sell the acquired Ethereum for USDC on SushiSwap, DEX B, netting a profit. Okay, so you want to make sure that you're buying on the cheaper broker. Okay, and then you could sell on the most expensive broker, and you could go ahead and make a profit. And if you want to make a certain amount of profit, let's say 10 million, for example. Okay, let's say you take 3,000. Okay, 5. Okay, and then take that by the 3,000. Okay, minus the 10 million, and it's going to give you a 16,666 gross profit. Okay, and repay the $10 million USDC plus the fee. Okay, so for example, $9,000 to have. Okay, the original place where you bought the USDC from or borrowed it from in the first place, and the remaining profit. Okay, so you have to take whatever you locked in minus the fees. So that's going to be the 16,000 number minus the 9,000. Okay, and then that's going to go ahead and be your net profit. So if successful, the block is mined. And the speed and scale of the flash loan execute the trade so fast that the price gap cannot close before the profit is secured, and it's a feat impossible with traditional capital. So advanced use case, collateral swapping and refinancing. So managing risk and optimizing debt positions. So beyond simple profit making, flash loans are crucial infrastructure tools for managing complex DeFi debt positions and risk. So collateral swapping, risk mitigation. So a certain scenario here. Let's say a user has a loan collateralized by Ethereum, but expects the price of Ethereum to drop sharply. Okay, let's say Ethereum's at 5K, and they think it's going to drop down to 3K. And the user can flash loan the debt amount, okay, pay off the original loan, withdraw the Ethereum collateral, swap the Ethereum for a stable collateral like DAI, for example, and then repay the flash loan and recollateralize the loan with the new stable asset, all in one transaction. The user can mitigate liquidation risk by swapping volatile collateral that fluctuates a lot for stable collateral without ever needing to close their debt position entirely, making your profit being able to be there, and then your profit's not going to be moving much afterwards, inshallah, because you're going to be investing in something stable. So refinancing, so rate optimization. So users can use a flash loan to instantaneously repay an existing loan on protocol A, which has a high interest rate, and immediately take out on an equivalent new loan on protocol B, which has a lower interest rate, all while preserving the original collateral. And this is known as debt migration. And the dark side, flash loan attacks and exploits, the vulnerability of price oracle manipulation. So while the flash loan contract itself is secure, the lender funds are protected by reversion, and the ability to access massive temporary capital exposed other protocols to sophisticated attack vectors, primarily through price manipulation. And how flash loan attacks work. So target vulnerability. The attack exploits a protocol that relies on a single low liquidity DEX or an easily manipulated on-chain mechanism to determine the price of an asset, okay, the price oracle. And the capital injection. The attacker uses a flash loan to buy or borrow a huge sum of the token. Okay, let's say for example 50 million. Okay, so just like we talked about, you could borrow 10 million of USDC. Let's say they try to get 50 million, okay, for a flash loan. And then price pump. The attacker dumps the 50 million loan worth of the token, okay, into the DEX, dramatically inflating the price of the token, okay, which the vulnerable protocol uses as its price oracle. Okay, so they're going to go ahead and dump 50 million into token X, and that's going to inflate the price of token Y. And the attacker then uses the artificially high price of token Y to borrow massive amounts of other assets from the vulnerable protocol, often exceeding the value of their collateral based on the manipulated price. And repayment and profit. The attacker repays the initial flash loan plus fee and keeps the huge surplus borrowed from the now drained victim protocol. In defense, protocols have largely countered this by adopting robust, time-weighted average price, also known as TWAP, oracles that are resistant to single transaction price swings. So summary and future outlook, okay? Jump into it. So here's a quick summary of flash loans. Flash loans are not inherently good or bad. They're powerful, neutral financial tool built on the unique properties of blockchain automaticity. Some key takeaways for the class. An uncollateralized loan that exists only for the duration of a single atomic block transaction, okay, and has security mechanisms. The lender is protected by the Ethereum virtual machine's atomic transaction reversion if repayment plus the fee fails. And some legitimate uses: arbitrage, debt refinancing, collateral swaps, and self-liquidation mechanisms are all going to be some uses for flash loans. And vulnerability is also going to be subject to play. They expose protocols with weak price oracles to manipulate and exploitation, so be careful. So the future of atomic finance. Flash loans have paved the way for meta transactions and complex financial maneuvers that treat multiple DeFi operations as a single unit. And their continued presence is essential for maintaining liquidity and efficiency in decentralized markets. Stay ready to keep grinding. Head over to StackMODE.net for all trading education. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.